morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio, so it's time to take a look. It's been a while since we did this. We need to have a look at what you should be expecting to pay for booster boxes of various Pokemon TCG sets. Because it's getting to that point now where things are starting to get better for most sets. So it is very fair at this stage to ask the question, well, hang on a second, what should we be expecting to pay for each booster box? Now, most of them are going to be very reasonable, so we might as well start off with the exception. The exception, ladies and gentlemen, is Evolving Skies. You are not going to be buying a booster box of Evolving Skies for a decent amount of money. I'm sorry, it is the one set lately which has gone, frankly, dumb. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, frankly, very, very dumb. The good news is, we do have kind of a pretty consistent consensus here. Like, the last two solds on eBay sold for $395 and $385. No, that is not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. That's actually pretty gosh darned expensive. And Evolving Skies has reached that really annoying place where everybody started trying to kind of trick eBay into showing it up when you search for Evolving Skies booster box. So when you search, you get a bunch of other sets because people have put Evolving Skies in the listing because, people are annoying. However, about $400 is about right. You should be able to get it for a smidge under, but $400 is about right. This is one of those sets where we really have to go for solds here, because looking at for sale, it really doesn't help. Like, here's two in a row, one for $420 and one for $450, with a Chilling Reign one in the middle, because obviously, we all want Chilling Reign. But actually, $420, $450 isn't about right. You shouldn't be paying quite that much. So like I say, we need to be looking at solds here, and about $400 is about the price. It's the way it is, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. We can all be very upset about that, but the fact of the matter is, Evolving Skies is a set where we've seen restocks quite a lot, but the reality is, when these are restocked, they do tend to sell out pretty quickly. We've seen it happen, actually, on the Pokemon Center online a few times in the not-too-distant past, but when these get restocked, they do tend to sell out pretty quickly, and then people try and resell them on eBay, and it's a little bit sad. Sorry about that. But the good news is that is very much the exception. The rest of them, you're looking a lot easier. So how about something like Obsidian Flames, for instance? Yeah, that was nice and easy, honestly. Obsidian Flames booster box, it's a newer set, it's recently released, and this is one of those ones, you can be picking this up pretty easily here for around about a ton, which is what people in the UK say when they mean 100. So we've got a couple of listings here, one for 105 and one for 102. Now, it's also worth bearing in mind that when we went to Scarlet and Violet, we also increased the price of booster boxes, because we increased the price of booster packs. And I've said this many, many times before, but let me just say it again nice and clearly here. There is no actual RRP, MSRP, phrase it how you will. There isn't a recommended retail price for booster boxes of Pokemon cards, because they're not actually intended to be sold as booster boxes. Now, we all know they are sold as booster boxes, even on the Pokemon Center website, but really they're designed to be sold as individual packs. So if you want to buy a booster box, it is literally just the price of a pack times by how many packs are in the box. So nowadays, in the Scarlet and Violet era, a booster box is 36 packs of $4.49, which is $161.64. That's what you should be paying for a booster box of Pokemon cards right now. That is retail. That is what you should be paying. So when Obsidian Flames is out there for like 105, well, you're literally saving like $55 on a box, $55 to $60 on a box, which is, very roughly, you're saving like a third. You're basically saving a third on the price of a box, which is absolutely absurd. The good news is we can actually play this game with the rest of the Scarlet and Violet block, and it's pretty much the same thing. Like, if I go over and have a look right now over on eBay at Paldea Evolved, I can again be picking this up pretty gosh darn cheap. Now, you need to be a little bit careful here. Do make sure you look at the listings, where they're from, etc., etc. But for instance, we've got 3 here in a row, one for $100, one for $101.70, and one for $101.76. But crucially, the one for $101.76 has sold $399, which means it's probably vaguely trustworthy. Like, this is probably one you can look at and go, oh, well, hang on a second. If they've sold $399, it's probably not a scam. Unless they're just really good scam artists. Which I suppose is a possibility, but I don't think it's particularly likely. So again, you should be paying $161-ish for this, $161.64, and yet instead you're paying $100. So you're literally saving $61 on the price. It's about a 37% saving-ish. We're doing a bit of rounding here. I'm being a bit lazy. But you're saving over a third here on a booster box of Paldea Evolved. And we can do the exact same thing here with Scarlet and Violet. Now, Scarlet and Violet's awkward. Do be very careful when you search for Scarlet and Violet. Because Paldea Evolved isn't actually called Paldea Evolved. It's called Scarlet and Violet Paldea Evolved. And Obsidian Flames isn't actually called Obsidian Flames, it's called Scarlet and Violet Obsidian Flames. So when you're searching for a booster box here, just be extremely careful, because the name is going to potentially trip you up here. You have been warned. Alright? Good. But here, once again, we're seeing a very similar kind of thing. You're going to be paying somewhere in the region of around about $100. I mean, here is a listing for $96. They've sold 103 of them. That's probably fairly trustworthy. And there are a bunch more around about the $95 to $100 mark, but I think I've made my point here. The fact that this is readily available, you know, they've sold 103, there's more than 10 available. The fact that this is readily available for $96, that's kind of ridiculous. And we've seen this with single prices in the Scarlet and Violet era. We're seeing it with booster box prices now. And I've got to say, like, super clearly, this is wonderful news. What this means is that product is just readily available. And it wasn't that long ago that booster boxes were hard to find, prices were spiking, and I was out here telling you guys on this channel nice and clearly, things will get better, it will be okay. And I had a bunch of people telling me that I'm stupid and I don't understand and things are different nowadays. Oh yeah, it worked out in the past, but that was in the past. Now things are different. You're an idiot if you think things are going to go back to being nice and cheap. Well, yeah. It happened. Obviously it happened. This was always going to happen. Pokemon literally came out at the time when stock was all really, really scarce. Pokemon literally came out and were like, yeah, mate, it's going to be fine. We're printing more. And people didn't believe them and people wanted to be pessimistic. And I suppose I understand. But yeah, it happened, ladies and gentlemen. And it all worked out absolutely fine. Now, I will say, if you go pre-Scarlet and Violet, it's still fine, don't get me wrong. It is a little bit worse. So, if we go to Silver Tempest, for instance, now bear in mind, this is back when packs were $3.99. So, the RRP of a box is actually $143.64. So, the boxes should be a little bit cheaper. And for Silver Tempest, you're paying $120 to $125. Now, you will occasionally see some cheaper listings around there, but here's a couple listings in a row for $120 and $125, and the $125 has sold nearly 1,000, and the $120 seems to be kind of like a one-off, so $125 is about what you're paying. And admittedly, that is a fair bit more than the Scarlet and Violet sets, bearing in mind it should actually end up being a little bit cheaper. However, we still need to bear in mind that this is still, like, significantly below RRP. This is still significantly lower than you would be paying at cost. So, do bear that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, yeah? It's not exactly some kind of, like, ridiculous, horrendous price. It's just a little more expensive. And we see a similar thing here with Lost Origin, whereby it's generally selling for about $135. which again, 144 is roughly what you should be paying. So 135 is still below retail. And I know some people get weirdly upset when they can't get massive bargains on these, I get it. But this is still below retail. This is still pretty gosh darn cheap. And just to have a look at one more here, let's go and have a look at Astral Radiance. We're not going to look at every box ever. We don't have time for that. But if we have a look at Astral Radiance, we've got a similar kind of thing going on. It's selling for around about 135. We've got one there with almost 500 sold for just shy of 140. But there is a listing for 130. It's about right. So the latter Sword and Shield set, your Astral Radiance, your Lost Origin, your Silver Tempest, yeah, they are pretty much a little bit below retail. And I do want to be very clear here, they are still below retail. This is still cheaper than retail. You are still getting yourself a little bit of a bargain here. However, it's not huge, it's just a little bit. But since we flicked to Scarlet and Violet, ladies and gentlemen, it's been very good. It's been very cheap. And honestly, all the Scarlet and Violet sets lately have been phenomenal. In terms of trying to get yourself a bargain, it's been great. And honestly, I kind of hope this carries on. Because I want to see these cards being available. I love it when sets are basically unscalpable, where people can't go and buy up all the booster boxes and just go and try and resell them for a profit, because there's not really any profit to be made, because they're selling at or below retail. That's my dream here. And when that happens, the price of singles starts dropping pretty dramatically here as well, because there's no point trying to sell singles for a lot, because the boxes are so gosh darn cheap. I love when this stuff happens. I hope it carries on. But I get questions a lot about people, what's a good price for a booster box? How's this set sitting, etc. This seemed like a good excuse to answer a bunch of those questions and also let you know what? The ladder Sword and Shield sets are looking pretty good, but oh my word, all of these Scarlet and Violet sets, they are looking very good. Just be a little bit sad about Evolving Skies, because that's probably not changing anytime soon. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you need to know, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me how excited you are. Tell me which of these sets you've been picking up. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, all kinds of fun things. And of course, get shout outs on the channel like the lovely Chelsea Rose, who is one of our biggest supporters over at Patreon and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.